Hello and welcome to the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in for another faculty interview so we can find a little bit more about what our fabulous faculty members are bringing to the conference. And so my name is Sarah R. Turnquist. I am the coordinator for the conference this year, but I am happy to introduce you to Jane Daly, who is one of our faculty members. And I also have with me Cindy Smith, who you've probably seen before on these interviews. And she is our faculty chair, doing all things faculty for us. So welcome, Jane, first to the interview, to the channel. And I'm excited that you're joining us at the conference this year.
Thank you. I am excited to be coming. It's a great opportunity to meet new authors and to just, I love encouraging authors. So I'm looking forward to your conference.
Excellent. Well, can you go ahead and tell us just a little bit about yourself, maybe where you're hailing from and what you like to do for fun?
Well, here is our interesting fun fact is that my husband and I are full-time RVers. So 3.5 years ago, we sold our house and got rid of all of our possessions except what we could fit in the basement. It's called the basement of our motorhome. We've been traveling full-time for the last 3.5 years. And what we like to do is to go someplace and what it's called work camping or camp hosting. And that gives us an opportunity to stay several months in a place where we would never have thought of staying before and seeing what there is to see in that area of the country.
Wow. Do you have maybe a favorite spot that you've been to?
I think we've been down to Tennessee several times because our daughter and our grandkids live there.
Oh.
Not that I would say that it's like the best place that we've been, but it is close to our hearts because then we get to spend some time with our family. But I think, gosh, it's so hard. Our country's so beautiful. I can't really say that there is a favorite place.
That's okay. I'm a little biased. I'm hailing from Middle Tennessee, and I was born and raised in Tennessee. So I'm a big fan myself of Tennessee and the mountains and all of the things. But if you could tell us maybe a little bit about what you write. Are you fiction, nonfiction? What have you got going on in the writing world?
Well, I'm one of those weird people who writes both fiction and nonfiction. I have 2 nonfiction books published, and I have another one under contract for 2026. But I really enjoy fiction. I have just constant, stories going on in my head all the time. And I love to get those down and basically to entertain. I like to be able to take people to just a relaxing place where they know that there's going to be a happily ever after ending, and it's and they don't have to worry about cringing because they're going to have some sex scene pop up in the middle of their book.
Yeah, absolutely. I love a happy ending. I get very frustrated if the book doesn't have a nice and neat tied up little bow at the end. And I like that you write that because I think sometimes we need just to be able to escape for a little bit and to know that, like you said, there's not going to be any sex scenes and that it's a happily ever after. That's wonderful. I am really excited that you're going to be joining us this year at KCWC. The workshops that we have that you've signed up to teach are Writing Through the Wall, Those Pesky Proposals, and How to Find Your Voice. For Writing Through the Wall, do you have a favorite way that you push through writer's block? And we don't give it all away because we want them to come to the workshop, but do you have a favorite way?
My favorite way is to stop doing what I'm doing and work on something different. It gives my brain a chance to kind of disconnect from that thing that's holding me back and work on something different, whether it's, blog post, a Substack, just anything that will let my subconscious work through that problem and by focusing on something else. And we'll
Yeah,
talk about that at the workshop, some different ways that have worked for me and things that have worked for other people.
yeah. And I think I like how you stop what you're doing. You don't really try to push through necessarily and get yourself more frustrated by just saying, I've got to get this done. I like that a lot.
Well, sometimes you have to do that, because if I'm on a deadline, I'm like,
Okay.
okay, I am just going to like push through this because I can't stop. I have to get this done because there's a deadline. So there's
Yeah,
also that.
that's true. That there's always those pesky deadlines.
Yes.
So you're going to talk about author's voice, and a lot of people can be confused about that. So how do you define author's voice? And I know that, and again, don't give away your workshop, but just a brief description for our listeners.
I was thinking about this morning because I knew you were going to ask that. And it reminds me of this really funny scene in Seinfeld. And I don't know if you ever watched Seinfeld. I didn't watch it very often, but there's this one where Putty, Elaine's boyfriend, is trying to sell a car to Seinfeld. And they get down to the final negotiation, and Jerry says, so what about this undercarriage thing? And Putty says, we don't even know what that is. And a lot of times as an acquisitions editor, I don't even know really what that is, but I know it's kind of like I know it when I see it. And it's the way that you as the author express your personality through your characters is one of the ways that we can find our voice or recognize our voice. And really, truly, the only way that I have found that authors find their voice is by writing, just continuing to write and improve and change and see, oh yeah, that's my sweet spot. That's where it is.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I think it would be very tempting. Well, as a new writer myself, it's tempting to try to want to copy somebody else's voice. And I think learning to find out what my voice is very important.
No, I agree, because when I first started writing, I don't know if you remember the author Rosamund Pilcher. She was really highly popular, I think probably in the 80s, maybe 90s, but she wrote some fabulous books, and they all take place in either England or Scotland. And her prose was so beautiful, and I just wanted to write like her. And I would try to do this prose, and it was like, yeah, that's not me. But that's kind of but Cindy, that's the way that you find out what your voice is. Try copying someone and be like, okay, some of this works, and then, yeah, this is not me.
Yeah. And that's really good advice. I like that advice a lot. How would you describe your teaching style? Are you instructional, inspirational, interactive, maybe a little bit of all three?
I love interactive because I'm going to encourage people when they come to the Writing Through the Wall to either bring their laptop or bring a notebook, because we're going to do some writing exercises to help people get through that. Just some ways that I've gotten through writer's block. So I maybe in combination of instructional and interactive. I love interacting. I love it when people have questions, because there's so much about this writing life that is frustrating, and it's helpful when you're able to get a question answered that probably more than one person has wanted to ask, but maybe they're too shy.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is excellent. I think that the interactive model is very important, because it's easy to sit there at a writer's conference and just get all this information and like, okay, what do I do with it? And so having that ability to sit there with the workshop instructor and work through some things is very helpful. It's like you're solidifying what you're learning so that you can take it away and not sit there a week later and go, what did she say about this? It's like there's something that happens with your brain as you're actually doing it.
Well, then the other thing too is, the reason I like teaching in person rather than like a virtual thing that's recorded and then people watch later is that you may have a question you can't ask. So I think writers' conferences are like the best for writers to come to, because then you have that interaction and you can chat with other people and you can chat with the instructor. I mean, when I was first writing and went to writers' conference, I thought, oh my goodness, I get to talk with like James L. Rubart, who I just admired so much that I could actually talk with him and ask him questions. And it was like, oh, it's almost, kind of a little bit fangirl, but that's the way I am.
Oh, I tell you what, the first time I sat under James Scott Bell's teaching, I was the same way. I was like, oh,
James Scott Bell. Oh my gosh.
yes. Yes. So fantastic.
Yeah. Just no crying because you're so excited. But
okay, I might have cried a little bit, but it was okay. I hit it well.
So before we move on to our next topic, as you think about your sessions, what would you like the participants to walk away from your sessions with that they could carry on?
Well, I'm hoping that they walk away with encouragement, because there's so many times when new authors are trying to break through that I need to get an agent, or I need to get published. I want them to walk away with encouragement, because it's this is a hard life. We labor in, feeling like we're in a dark basement laboring over our computers, and there's really nobody to say, go, you can do it. You can get there. And so that's why I like in-person writers conferences, is because there's so much encouragement that not only you get from the instructors, but also from other authors. Yeah. So for me, like, the biggest thing would be just, do it. You can do it, just keep pushing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's something, as a new writer, I definitely appreciate. I've done the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference before, and then I've been to other writing conferences, and the people are so encouraging to write. They're not like, oh, well, you can't write like so-and-so, then you should just give up. They are willing to encourage and support new writers. And I'm just amazed over and over again by that. So I love that is what you hope that the people attending your workshops will get.
Well, and that's the difference between a Christian writers conference and a secular writers conference, because I have heard from those who've attended a secular writers conference that there's so much competition and there's an unwillingness to share. Wow. That it's not as fun as when, I don't know, I just think as Christians are like, just because you get success doesn't mean that my success is finished, or that there's less success for me. There's enough success to go around, because we know that God's creativity is limitless. So that means that, I may get published and you're not published yet, but we know that God's timing works for our good. I remember listening to Sarah Sundin. She was teaching a one-day conference about God's waiting room, and how you may be in the waiting room, but that doesn't mean you're going to be there forever, because eventually you're going to get to see the doctor. You're in the waiting room for a specific amount of time till you can see the doctor. So you may be in God's waiting room right now in your writing, but that doesn't mean you're going to be stuck there forever. I mean,
I like that.
I always go back to the parable of the talents. If God's given you a talent, whether it's 1, 5, or 10, if you keep using that talent for your writing, and you keep pushing and writing, eventually that talent is going to go where God wants it to go.
That is so true. I love that. And now I understand that you're not just coming to teach, you will be teaching, and I'm so excited about these workshops, but you're also going to accept pitches for Elk Lake Publishing, if I'm correct.
That is correct. I'm excited about that too.
That is so exciting for me and for the conferees that are coming. And I know there has been some confusion in the past between what an acquisitions editor is as compared to like a content or copy editor. There's some people that aren't familiar with this word acquisitions editor and what they do. So what, if you could define that in some way or tell us what the difference is, that would be great.
Well, I would say that as an acquisitions editor, it's less editor and more acquisitions, because what I do is I accept proposals or accept pitches. And if it sounds like it's going to work for our house, then I will say, send me a proposal. And so when I get the proposal, I read through it and I see if the writing is strong. And if it isn't strong enough, or, just maybe not quite there, I appreciate the fact that Elk Lake takes the time in our rejections to say, this is what needs to be worked on. And if you're willing to do the work, then please feel free to resubmit. I don't do actual editing because I'm not that person. I think those editors are amazing and I don't have that skill, nor do I want to learn that skill. So when people want to make an appointment with me at the conference, it's not, you don't have to have something to pitch. If you just want to come and talk with me about writing, about the industry, about here's kind of what I'm thinking about writing, does this fit within the market? I am happy to just sit and chat for 15 minutes without actually taking a pitch. So I don't want it to be just about, you have to come with something. Just come talk with me.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I really do appreciate that, especially as someone who has sat on the other end of the table across from the acquisition editor. I really appreciate just the willingness to answer questions. And the pitching can be really nerve-wracking. And so is there anything that you would recommend some of our aspiring authors bring that would be helpful if they did want to do more of a formal pitch, like a one sheet, a writing sample, anything like that?
I appreciate if somebody has a one sheet. That's one of the things that I have taught in the past about come prepared. I mean, if you just want to chat, that's fine. But if you actually want to do a pitch, I like having a one sheet. It kind of breaks the ice because rather than you having to, dive right into my 30-minute commercial, you can hand me a one sheet and then I can ask questions. So the other thing I want to say, though, is just relax. I mean, we're people. I've been on the other side. I've been so nervous that I've had hives going into a pitch session. I mean, seriously, I had hives from like here to my knees. I was so nervous. And it's not necessary to get that worked up. We're just regular people. And, if you blow it, it's fine. We're not going to say, no, never going to talk to you again. The other thing I want to say, too, is please don't talk for the entire 15 minutes because I want the chance to ask you questions about what you've written. And I know you're excited about your work, but if you don't give me time to ask questions and kind of get the conversation going, your 15 minutes is not going to be as helpful to you as you would want it to be.
That's a really good point. And one that I would not have thought to recommend, because we're always taught about the elevator pitch. And for those of you that's a new term, that is boiling down your premise to the amount of time it would take to go from one floor on an elevator to another floor. That's why it's called an elevator pitch. But it's just a couple of sentences. And it's kind of drilled into us when you're, an aspiring author, when you're new to the field and you're doing pitches, that you have to have this worked up elevator pitch and then you stop. And so I see that there's merit to that in the sense that you don't talk the whole time. You give opportunity for questions. But I think that I like your conversational approach. Like, just come and we'll have a conversation about it. And if you're ready to pitch, then bring a one sheet. I love this very, very much.
Well, and the other thing too is there's something in the movie industry, they call it a log line. And basically it's just 2 or 3 sentences that you would put on a movie poster that describes the movie, because you don't have it's not like a back cover copy in a book where you've got 150 words to describe your book. It's just a log line for a movie. And if you kind of can give that gives a great intro to being able to pitch your work. So whether it's fiction or nonfiction.
Oh, great. Thank you so much for that tidbit. Now I have one more question before I let you and everyone that's watching this video go on to the other things that are filling your day. What would you say is your favorite thing about writers' conferences? And if someone was kind of on the fence about whether or not to sign up for any writers conference, what would you say, again, your favorite thing to kind of encourage them one way or the other?
Come to a writers conference. It's so, because we kind of work all by ourselves, we're solitary. Making contacts with other writers is the best thing for me. I mean, I love the fact that we have Zoom, we have Facebook, I've talked to other writers across who are in Australia via Facebook chat. I mean, in person. I mean, like, we can phone each other. Having those relationships with other writers is invaluable because I have prayer partners. And so when I'm saying I am stuck, I'm hit the wall, I need prayer, I've got other men and women who will pray with me and encourage me, because not for me, but other people maybe don't have the support of their family or their spouse. And it's invaluable to have support from other people during this journey. So making contacts with people at writers' conferences is the best thing. I can just say that is the best thing about coming to a writers' conference. Don't come looking to get a contract, to get an agent. That may happen, but it's more important to make friends with other people who are going through the same thing you're going through, which is trying to solitarily write and produce something that is going to be readable.
That is excellent, because I do think that you are absolutely right that people come with the intention of what they're going to accomplish in the writers' conference. I'm going to learn from this class, or I'm going to pitch to this agent or this editor, or and really and truly, I think we cannot overplay the networking aspect enough, not just as a piece of your writing and your rubbing elbows with other writers, but as the body of Christ. And like you mentioned, it makes writers' conferences that are Christian writers' conferences a little bit more unique, that we're able to encourage each other and spur each other on and pray for each other and all of these things that we just take for granted, I think, a lot of times when we look at this conference that I'm going to go to, for example. So I really appreciate you bringing up that point. But thank you so much, Jane, for your time and for your heart for the Kentucky Christian Writers Conference and what you're going to bring to us. I am so excited.
Thank you. I am so happy to be able to pour into others' writers' lives, and I know I'm going to get so much back in return.
Isn't that the truth? All right. Well, thank you, everyone out there listening and watching on YouTube. Again, we're going to have someone put the registration link in the description and right there across the bottom of the screen. If you have made a decision that you're coming to Kentucky Christian Writers Conference to learn about those pesky proposals and writer's block and writer's voice and all of those things, please do go ahead and register. And we look forward to seeing you, and we look forward to meeting you, Jane, in person. That will be awesome.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. This was great. Thanks again.